Well, ladies and gentlemen, post-match reaction to the Viaplay semi-final. After extra time, Rangers 2, Aberdeen 1. Graham, how you feeling?
I've calmed down a wee bit. I was raging with the performance and some of the decision making, but like I said in the preview of the match, the only important thing to do was getting through to the final, and we've done it. But we made bloody hard work at it, that's for sure.
Yeah, Craig, that was the mission. Almost felt like Mission Impossible.
I forget having kids. I feel like I've aged in like the last 3 hours, about 10 years. Watching that match, it was just at times it was brutal.
Do you know what? Sometimes I struggle to get to sleep on a Sunday night, but I think I've got plenty of material if I'm struggling tonight. I don't know where to start, whether just to dissect the match or just talk about the flashpoints. I mean, I thought we actually started pretty well, and a few decent patterns of play resulted in Sakala hitting the post, Graham.
Yeah, I agree. I thought we started off quite bright, and we were kind of camped in their half, which is what I always want to see. And you say Sakag hits the header. I think it actually comes off his shoulder more than his head, but it hits the post. And then you think, let's build on this, keep getting balls into the box, because obviously Morelos gets a header later on as well, which McCoy basically gave perfect analysis. It should have been right across goal instead of the near post. But we were getting on the end of crosses and stuff, and it looked bright. But then just I don't know how, I can't remember the flashpoint or anything that happened, but the Aberdeen midfield just started to take over. We couldn't win the battle in the middle of the park. And for then it just was a tough day after
that. Do you know what? When I was watching the game, I saw a lot of criticism from group chats, Twitter, various players looking off it. But Craig, the state of that pitch is an absolute cabbage patch. Not only to actually play football on it, but it must cause some serious heavy legs.
Yeah, I think Graham was saying, I think the flashpoint, the change in the game was their disallowed goal, because that seemed to give them a little bit of belief. They were like, oh yeah, like we can have a go here. The pitch was horrendous. I think you put it in the group chat. They've either got to stop doing these weekend semi-finals or have it at two different grounds, because with the weather the last couple of days, that pitch just can't have a game yesterday and then a 2-3 hour game today in total. It's just not viable, and it's just going to make players injured, which one of our players looks like from his landing is injured again.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I can really attribute the Roofe injury to the pitch. I think he's just made of chocolate. It looked like a complete innocuous thing, and I don't see how a piece of turf or a piece of grass can really cause that injury. But I felt like the pitch was an absolute leveler, and when you're trying to move the ball quickly, and I did think we tried to do that, a couple of one-touch passes, 2-touch passes. I mean, this feels so long ago. You know, you look at the impact of Malik Tillman. I thought he was absolutely superb, but obviously as the game went on, his legs got heavier and he kind of disappeared out of the game. But in the first half, I thought he was superb.
Yeah, I agree. He had moments, but I find him very frustrating. Like, he can bring the ball under control and he can see things that other players don't, but sometimes he's second and third touch sometimes, which for me just gets away with him too often. But I get it, like, it was threatening, and some touches, like you say, he had his moments, but obviously I think he does struggle a wee bit with games like that, and I think that's why I'm more leaning towards not taking up making the signing permanent, because he does dip in and out. He's inconsistent as well, but you can see he has got the moments of brilliance. But it was a tough game for him, and I think at half time, Michael Stewart and can't remember who the other guy was with McCoy, they kind of were a bit too much on him. I don't think he was as bad as they were making out.
I don't think it was bad at all. Was I watching a different game, Greg?
Yeah, I mean, he has these flashes of brilliance, like Graham said. Sometimes I think what he's thinking in his mind is 2 or 3 steps ahead of a lot of the players he's playing with, which would be the case coming from Bayern Munich. I'm still 50-50 on buying him, because I think yes, he would be amazing, and yes, it would be a good investment, but are there more key areas in the team to resolve with that 5-6 million?
See, I see the argument for that is when you get quality player like Tillman, you just don't turn it down, regardless of whether it's an area of the pitch where you need strengthening, because ultimately you want to be the best in all areas of the pitch. Talking about areas of the pitch, one that seems to be a constant problem and seems to be the goalkeeper and defence situation, because it just feels like sometimes they don't have any confidence in each other. Greg, we had a bit of a warning with Aberdeen's disallowed goal that they were capable of sticking balls over the top and causing us a bit of a problem when we have to turn and face our own goal. You mentioned that it gave Aberdeen a bit of confidence, and it definitely did. But the warning signs were there, and ultimately that led to Aberdeen's first goal. Just that absolute calamity.
Yes, I'm finished with Barisic, I must admit. I don't know why he switches off. Literally, the first one for the disallowed goal, I thought it was great defending because Ben Davies, I think, knew what he was doing and called him offside. I actually thought it was definitely offside at the beginning before it went to kind of all the checks and stuff. But I think Davies tries to do his job again, get him offside. He doesn't get it. Well, gets him offside, sorry, but the one running, and Barisic is just you can see him literally just stop him. He thinks, well, but I think we all say that, well, a few said it in the group chat, that you learn that so young that play to the whistle, and Barisic doesn't. And then Davies is stuck. He doesn't know what to do. Go to the wide man or mark the man in the middle. And then McGregor was half out, half in, and just decision making. I said it just before we came on. This decision making is quite bad. Actually, it's embarrassing. Some of it.
Yeah, we've had a few chats or a few comments in the group chats, Craig, about who's actually to blame for this goal. What's your take?
It's a combination of Barisic, Davies, and McGregor, in my opinion. Barisic should not be letting the man. The man's got Barisic got a 10-yard head start on the lad that runs past him, and you see him stop and sort of point to the guy that's offside, as if to say, "Why is he not offside?" But the whistle's not gone. He then gets outrun by the lad Kennedy. He whips the ball across, and Davies, for me, is torn between, do I go for it, or he stopped because he thinks my keeper should be coming to get that. That's why he takes a stop. McGregor, for me, I've seen two pictures, and I know we'll probably disagree on this, and people will probably disagree on this. There's two pictures of the ball from when Kennedy crosses it to when Miovski knocks it in. McGregor's moved 5 yards across his goal, but not 1 yard out of his goal. He's just moved across his 6-yard box. Where he knocks the ball in, the lad's just on the 6-yard box. So I know McGregor doesn't know what the ball's coming in, but McGregor, for me, 3 years ago, anticipates that ball coming across the box. His reaction time, anticipation is completely gone, and that's just because of his age. It's not anything to do with his ability. It's just his reflexes, and he's sort of switched on. Yes, he might leave the goal open if he sort of comes out, but from where the lad knocks it in, he's going to have to be a worldie to put it in that side. It's just a complete balls up from the three of them. They're all
Craig, you know what? That was my point in the group chat. I was saying, almost coming to a defence of McGregor, saying, look, he can't come off his line because he just leaves that near post completely open. Reflection, looking at the pick goal back again, looking at the images, it would take one hell of a finish from that angle to get the ball in the net from that point. So as a goalkeeper, you've really got to anticipate that and almost make a snapshot decision on what the likelihood of that happening is. And it looked all day, every day, as if Kennedy was going to bring the ball across. But for the life of me, I just don't understand what Davies was doing, because he's either waiting for the ball to be cut back, which again, if you look at the situation, that wasn't going to happen, or that ball's going across goal. And if you look at Miovski and his starting position when the ball is played, to the point where he finishes, not only has he made 4 yards on Davies, but he's passed him by 4 yards as well. Surely that's, as a defender, you take this to both of you. Surely as a defender, it doesn't matter what anyone else does. It is your responsibility to make those decisions. You shouldn't be anticipating what an attacker's doing or a goalkeeper's doing. You keep, if it's in your control, you do everything you can to retain that control of the situation. Or am I just trying to defend McGregor for no reason here?
I think it's a hard one because also I've never played in goal, so I don't really know how angles in that work. But I agree with Craig. I think a couple of years ago, or even prime McGregor, he makes a better choice in what he's going. Either comes, he's split between two minds basically, and it's one of the. My full blame is Barisic, to be honest, because if Barisic keeps running, Davis is further across on the striker, and it kind of stops. So it's for me, it's the most of the percent of the blame is Barisic for me.
For me, if Barisic keeps running, he tackles the bloke.
Yeah.
He doesn't get a check. He doesn't get past him and get the crossing. But Davis, for me, has that split second where he thinks, "Do I go for it, or is McGregor going to get it?" And in that split second, he's lost the chap. He's lost him.
Well, I get the scrutiny on Barisic. However, do you know what? For some reason, I just think Matty Kennedy's just passed him anyway, even if he keeps on running. I think he's just got the legs on him, and I don't really think that makes too much difference. It is a time to go right. Okay, maybe we should move on from that because we're actually getting to the crux of it. We're now in a final against Celtic. Final of a national cup competition. We should be celebrating. We should be happy. This seems a bit dour, right? So we're going to move away from that. So let's talk about the good performances. Now, for me, I thought Ryan Kent, again, he doesn't hurt, he doesn't shirk, he doesn't hide. It was one of those games where he got kicked off the park as well, but he kept on going. What do you make of his performance, Graham?
Yeah, in large parts of it, I thought it was good. You can see he's got that more confidence now. His first touch is a wee bit more truer, and he's he used to always, when he got the ball, he kind of dropped the shoulders if he was going that way, then go the next way. That's working for him now. I think he's more committed to that rather than sometimes he'd do it and then do another one and do another one. And he's more his decision making is basically, I keep going back to it. I think he's getting more decisions right. Obviously, there is some instances where he loses control, but in large parts, I thought he was our best player. And as you said before we came on, Scott, most of the time he's the only one that looks like an actual proper football. And he was our man of the match. He threatened them the most. I think most of their chances came through him. The build-up play for the goal, the wee step over and then into Jack, then Jack with the back heel. It was a good goal. I really enjoyed watching that kind of football, and I think he was our best player.
We do score some absolutely cracking goals. What do you make of Ryan Jack's performance, Craig?
Ryan Jack, I think first half, like a lot of the players, he struggled a bit. But second half, I think he really come into his own and capped it with a really good goal. I think he just put his mark on the game. Him and Lundstrom, I think first half were both trying to do the same thing, whereas second half they seemed to be more defined in their roles rather than sort of getting in each other's way and letting the Aberdeen midfield start to overrun them.
Yeah. What did you make of? I'll stay with you, Craig. What did you make of Beale's changes and his tactical moves?
I think it seemed to well. I mean, for second half, he was obviously just about to bring Arfield on when we scored. Maybe we should have still gone ahead with that sub, but I think we seem to have a bit of the ascendancy. I think for most of his games so far, all of his subs seem to be at the right time. Seem to be the key subs. Gio tended to have a bit more of a either not make any subs at all, make some baffling subs, whereas Beale seems to be a bit more on the ball and a bit more reactive to what's going on in the game. And I think, his subs today, after the goal, seemed to, and obviously the extra time ones, clearly made the difference.
Yeah, it's really interesting because, again, apologies, people in the comments and stuff. Obviously, we've got our own group chat and we talk about the game. And I think we were all screaming for Arfield or an attacking player to come on, but we get back to 1-1, and it was an absolutely cracking goal by Ryan Jack, who I definitely wasn't getting angry at all. And he definitely did pipe me down somewhat. And he brings on Glenn Kamara. And I'm looking at, right, okay, let's go for the juggler, let's go for the throat. And he brings on Glenn Kamara, and you can actually see why he did that. We've then got a settled midfield, and we take control of the midfield, and we press the game from there, don't we, Graham?
Yeah, I thought they brought on Arfield as well straight after the goal, but as you say, but once Kamara came on, we kind of got it back in. I think that brought the best out in Jack. They're used to playing together, obviously, the 55 season and onwards. They know each other's game. I think it helped Jack come back into the game. So I think all his subs made impact, even Scott Wright as well later on, set up the goal. But it was the correct sub in Glenn Kamara. We all know what he can do. It's just his inconsistency this season for me. But when he came on, he helped and kind of reassured the midfield.
He's touched on him there. Scott Wright, what an impact he had when he came on, Craig.
Yeah, I wasn't at all shouting that it was the wrong sub. I wasn't at all sort of holding my head in my hands. But yeah, Scott Wright, we know what he can do. It's obviously just a bit inconsistency. Really good play from him. Got the ball head down, just ran at the defender. Great ball across, and obviously there's old chocolate legs to sort of knock the ball in before we went off. So at least he came on and made his impact in the 20 minutes he was on. But yeah, I was impressed with Scott Wright. Come out a little bit out of the cold. Obviously, he's not really been in the team since Beale's come back. But if he keeps doing that in the small cameos he has, then he'll have hopefully a good second half of the season.
All right. Well, Scott Wright is a bit of an enigma, isn't he? So what I absolutely love about Scott Wright is the fact that he takes the ball, he turns and he runs. He's so direct. But again, on the other side, we see it's almost like Jekyll and Hyde, the decision making. Even like I'm jumping all over the match, all over the place, because quite frankly, I don't necessarily want to relive it blow by blow because I'll end up falling asleep or something. But the Hyde side, for example, is when we've got 15 seconds left. All he has to do is run it into the corner, but he cuts back inside and he almost gives Aberdeen a chance. His decision making is so unpolished, but then he gives us that moment, and I would call that magic. And he's very much, it's almost like we've got two players the same in Scott Wright and Fashion Sakala. They're able to give us these big moments, but they're just not consistent. And food for thought, I suppose. Do we look at this and actually go, Scott Wright needs to play more games?
It's a tough one, and I think you can basically go right across our attacking line, and it's just if they had the proper decision making and more consistent, there's an argument that they probably wouldn't be at Rangers, and that's why we've got them. But like Scott Wright, when he come on, like you say, he's direct. He gets at players. He's got kind of the physical attributes as well to hold players off, which I quite like. And then obviously he's got the speed. But see when he was going in and goal towards setting up Roofe up, I bet he passes us either way back or he cuts back or he puts it out of play or something. That's what I was thinking. But obviously that's through experience watching him. But he lifts his head up and picks Kamara Roofe out brilliantly. And if only he could do that maybe an extra 10 times a season, he'd maybe be a better sub-impact player for us.
Maybe he just needs the opportunity. I mean, we saw at the end of last season, particularly the Europa League one, he was actually quite important in providing decisive moments in that as well. So one of those things, there's surely a player there in these players, and maybe they just need more games. And, you know, when I draw the comparisons to Fashion Sakala, I know I'm not his biggest fan, but you can definitely see, Craig, the benefit that Sakala is getting from having that run, because I saw a player today who gave an even more polished performance than he did against Celtic. And for me, he's definitely improving.
Yeah, I think that being able to play week in, week out and knowing that it's not a case of, well, he's not done very well today, we'll take him out of the team, which is what's happened in the past with Wright, Matondo, Sakala, and giving him that opportunity to actually get his head down and know no matter what happens, no matter how you play, you're going to get 5, 10, 15 games in a row. He's really key for players like Sakala. I actually thought he did really well today. I thought he was the one player that most of the sort of first 45, 60 minutes, he was the one player that was trying to make things happen. Obviously, he had a couple of shots where they go wide, but that happens. I'd rather I'd rather players have shots that go wide and the odd one goes in than players that cut back and play the safe pass every day of the week. So I think he's got all the ability if he gets that opportunity, like Scott Wright. It's just the manager hopefully having that faith in them. But could that change if we buy players that are maybe going to take their spot?
Well, exactly. We all need competition for places, and with Fashion Sakala, he's definitely got the raw materials to be a quality player. Particularly, you touch on his shooting. He's shooting 1 minute. He's almost sticking one in the top corner, and the other times he's a bit rash in the box, and he just takes a wild swing at it. That's something that can be coached. So I'm not necessarily gonna magically transform my opinion, but I'm open to it, Graham. Open to it.
Yeah, we all agree that we all kind of love him. He plays with a smile on his face. He's happy to be here. He works hard. But it's like you say, sometimes I question or maybe think what we're doing in training. Like, are we getting Scott Wright and Sakala in positions to get their head up and pick out players and doing patterns of play and stuff like that. So it's drilled into them. So we can maybe see more consistent decision making. But also, we don't know what goes on behind the scenes. But we want them to do well, obviously. But it's just we need to see it more often, and then we can fully get behind them.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. One guy that we've always been behind, sort of, Alfredo Morelos. Craig, we needed a big performance from him today. What did you make of him?
He was a bit of an enigma today. He seemed to have the odd moment where you sort of saw the old Morelos back, and then he'd have minutes where he just didn't seem interested. Unless the ball was within 2 or 3 yards of him. He didn't seem like he was gonna chase the ball down. The most animated he got during the game was the header that he had, which he was trying to claim was over the line, and it was nowhere near. But I don't blame him for making the claim. I think he was hoping that somebody in the VAR box would help him out. He's just frustrating. He's obviously not. It was annoying because it's not the Alfie's condition, and that pitch was not a good mix. I just thought he's not going to be rampaging like he normally does on that cabbage patch that we played on, but he did enough. Obviously, we didn't really have many other options. I mean, he's in a bit of a situation at the minute where he sort of knows internally, however he plays, he's going to be the striker for Rangers, which you'd hope would be a motivation for him, but who knows?
Yeah, that's a very good point. Eventually, he was replaced by Kemar Roofe, and we've touched on his injury, which is definitely unfortunate. How do you think he got on when he? I mean, let's hope it's not a long one, and it is just the case of it's just a bit sore, and he can get back to playing. Graham, what did you make of his cameo? We'll call it a cameo. It's probably a bit harsh to call it a cameo. You're on mute.
Sorry. Everything kind of technical wise, I thought it was sound, but you could see it. There was one ball went down the left hand side, and he kind of chased it, and you could see he wasn't ever the fastest, but he kind of looked a lot slower again. But obviously, that's to be expected. I'm not going to blame him for that. He's been out for a long time, and then especially on that pitch as well. But I think it's just we're not going to get him fully fit for a consistent season or run of games, which is he's so calm at finishing. He's one-touch finishes, all that kind of stuff. He'd be a great asset if he was just be able to play and contribute more. It's a tough one because I do like him, but he gets a lot of stick, obviously, because of the Instagram stuff he's posting and that. But I think if we could get a fully fit Kemar Roofe, he's a 20-goal a season striker, and it's just unfortunate that he's plagued with injuries.
Yeah, it is unfortunate, but he's come on and scored the winner today, Craig.
Yeah, you gave him the vote of confidence in the group chat. I think you need to be doing that. You need to be doing that quite a bit more often, saying he was anonymous, and then you knew what would happen. I think you need to say that. I think you need to say that about Sakala every game or Morelos, so that they come on and get the goal. The goal was just prime Kemar Roofe, right place, ball across the box. there's two players that you want in that position. One's Cholak, one's Roofe, because you know they're both going to put the ball away. Anyone else, Morelos, Sakala, Kent, even Arfield, that ball could go anywhere. But Cholak and Roofe, you know it's going to go in the net. And I may have ran around the kitchen when that goal went in, and it sort of relieved a little bit of anxiety going into the last last half an hour.
Right, hold on a second. Did you just say that relieved a bit of anxiety for the last half an hour? Right.
In that, I knew we were in front. We weren't hopefully weren't going to throw it away.
We're playing against 10 men, and I think in extra time, although we had opportunities to get shots on goal, Aberdeen created the better opportunities to score or had the better shots on goal. Whether, Johnny Hayes shooting from 35 yards or whatever ridiculous that was, McGregor saving that. And then McGregor makes two or three absolutely outstanding saves in the second half of extra time. Does McGregor redeem himself for the goal? And how do we feel about that performance, particularly in the latter 5 minutes of, the extra time? I mean, this is just like an absolute open question. So just dive in and have a bit of debate on this one.
I think just one thing I want to pick up on, Michael Beale, see once the VAR carry on, when it stopped working and came back on and stopped working again, I think, see once we scored the goal, I think we looked as if we were going to go and get the third. And then that kind of stopped. And I think that's why Michael Beale was complaining to the officials on the sideline. So I think that kind of changed the game. I think it stopped us a wee bit. But like you said, Alan McGregor, some of the saves, especially in the second half, and I think it was the last 3 minutes or so, the one that bottom right-hand corner they got to, it kept us in the game because obviously you don't know what can happen in penalty shootout if it goes to penalties. So they basically kept us in the game and won us the game.
For me, they're good saves, but they're saves that if he doesn't make it, you'd be furious. They are good saves, but they're not like they're not some of the Europa League saves where he's tipped it over the bar and it's going top corner. Basically, they're ones that you'd be very disappointed if he doesn't stop. But obviously he has to be in the right place. I think I put in the group chat at one point when they hit the post from one where it was offside. It seemed to just be at the minute that any shot that goes either side of McGregor just seems to be going in. If it's on target, it's going in the net. So he did let me eat my words a little bit in the extra time period.
Yeah, definitely so. I mean, when we talk about the way that we were set up and the way we were playing, were we inviting Aberdeen pressure onto us, or was it just the case of, look, it is what happens at the end of a match? Other teams just pile forward, and you're just going to have to face a few shots on target or a few shots on goal. Sorry.
Yeah, that always does happen in games like that. The opposition who are getting beat always have chances and pressure and stuff like that. But I think we certainly didn't help ourselves. And not often I agree with Stephen Craigan when he was saying we just have to constantly look for the switch and make them go across and run across the pitch and tire them out. But we kept on, Lundstrom, for example, he was doing my head in. They kept trying to play first-time passes on a pitch like that, putting pressure on Goldson. And then there was an example, Scott Wright, I think we spoke about it earlier on there actually. He just had to go into the corner or keep going wide, and he brings it back inside, loses the ball. Charlie McCann as well, and then Ryan Kent at the end does a step over and loses it when he could easily put through McCann, I think it was. Just decision making. I've said it a few times on this pod already. Some of the decision making under pressure is quite bad, and it puts pressure on the defence and McGregor. And if we shore that up, then we could probably see the game out quite comfortably.
Yeah, the game management was pretty poor in the last sort of 5-10 minutes. So many times you just go to the corner. I think we were all fighting against the Stephen Craigan energy of trying to will an Aberdeen equaliser at times, because the commentary was quite, in my opinion, quite embarrassing. He was sort of, if Aberdeen can put it in the box and this and that, and he's like, just shut up for 5 minutes and let me enjoy the game.
For the 4 minutes as well, he's gone mental that Aberdeen haven't realised that they're playing against 10-men Rangers as well. He's demanding to push forward and that. That is quite bad.
All right. Well, on the subjects of Stephen Craigan, I said to my missus, he must get paid per word. There is absolutely zero chance I've never encountered. Look, I'm including myself in this. I've never encountered someone that talks so much crap in all my life. Right, so we've got to discuss it. VAR, what's going on? I mean, Scottish football doesn't really do itself any favours, does it?
No, it's for the state of the pitch, for 2 games playing at Hampden the day after each other. It's Scottish loves to just embarrass ourselves, basically, refereeing decisions, all that kind of stuff. It's
I mean, if you're going to mention refereeing decisions, I thought Nick Walsh had an absolutely great game. I say a great game. I thought a couple of times that he could have got the yellow card out sooner, particularly for some challenges in the middle of the park.
the Ramanani, or what his name is.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, he could have been booked quite a few times. But on the flip side, you've got to make allowances for the pitch and what that does. When the ball isn't running properly and it bounces up, it opens it up to those 50-50 challenges, and players are going to start flying in. So you do kind of almost make allowances for that. Otherwise, you can end up with this like tippy-tappy crap football on a crap pitch, and we really didn't need that. We needed something about the game. But what he did do, and it really surprised me, is with that tackle with Stewart, and I thought that was a terrible tackle at the first glance, he didn't hesitate in getting that red card out, Craig.
No, I thought it was a bad tackle at the time, but seen on the replay, it's even worse. He sort of scissors Sakala, and Sakala's quite lucky there. He hasn't actually come off with quite a bad injury, because that could have been really, really bad. The way he tried to claim he got the ball was absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, I was surprised, but also quite happy that the referee just stuck to his decision straight away. Red card. It was an absolutely awful tackle. I was yelling some expletives in the kitchen at sort of getting the player off, which I won't repeat. The girlfriend thought it was hilarious from the other room, the way I was shouting. Yeah, awful tackle, and not really a tackle you want to see, because up to that point it hadn't really been a really horrible game. There was a few tackles that went in, with Barisic and McCrory, and that sort of had a couple last few minutes, but it wasn't really a dirty game up to that point.
Oh, and he definitely let the game flow. Do you know what, Graham? Any last comments on the game?
Just on the tackle, I must admit, if I'm being totally honest, I didn't think it was that bad at first glance when it happened. But also the replays, then it's a total red card. But at first glance, I was opposite for you. I thought it was just a yellow. But
I mean, I thought it was a straight red, because it looked like he flew in, and sometimes you don't have to leave the deck completely, fly in, whole challenge. But he went over the ball as if it wasn't a thing. He was like, I want to try and make contact with the ball, but I'm going to make sure I take this man. But he's gone with full body into Sakala's body with leg, rather than actually just try and win the ball and then take a bit of the man. I just thought it was completely unnecessary, completely needless. And these tackles are the ones that should be red cards. Interestingly enough, I don't know like how VAR works. If he gave him a yellow card, Craig, do you think he's actually going back to say, actually take another look at that? You might want to think about sending them off.
I think they can in that situation. I think if they feel that it's endangering the player, they can ask him to go and look at it again if you give the yellow card. Someone just put in the comments, which I completely forgot about. He, not as bad a tackle, but he actually did one on Kent in the first half when Kent then played the ball out to Alfie and he had a shot. He took Kent out quite late. So he's actually lucky he didn't get a yellow card from that one, which obviously would have been negated by this one, because this one was a straight red all day. Yeah, I think it would have been one for VAR to sort of get involved in, but they could have asked him to sort of reassess it.
Yeah. Anyway, onwards. We're celebrating. We're into the final. 26th of February. Viaplay Cup final. How you feeling, Graham?
let's hope the pitch is in a better condition. That's for one thing, so we can we've got a good game. Obviously, that we're going to be able to play our best football on to try and win the game. So, obviously, I'll be getting into it confident, but I just want to see more kind of build up. That's another win, obviously, for us. Keeps Beale's run going, so keep momentum going and build up the confidence that way. And we should hopefully be getting full of confidence to play them in the final and get another trophy under our belts. So I will be confident in the build up to it.
Are you feeling confident, Craig?
Yes, I think with a couple of players coming in, hopefully this week, freshen the squad up, a few weeks ahead. We'll give a certain team a few weeks to start putting the pressure on around VAR and decisions. I think that will get ramped up with a couple of weeks to go. But hopefully, VAR is working and we've got a better pitch. Then we should have hopefully a good final, which I'm very confident that we will come out on top of.
Oh, good. Confidence. That's what I like to see. What needs to change there? You talk about a couple of signings. What kind of areas you're looking for that will really make you feel happy?
I think we need legs in midfield. So at the minute, we are literally left with Lundstram and Jack, Lundstram and Kamara, Jack and Kamara. I think we need somebody else in the midfield, like a Todd Cantwell, who, yes, he can play more out wide, but I think he would do quite well as a sort of number 8, pushing on. Tillman, we're expecting a lot of him at the minute in that role. He's not really getting any chance to have a break and have a rest. Hopefully that might happen in the week when we play Kilmarnock. So he's played quite a lot of football recently. Yes, we're only playing once a week, but we've got to remember this is a lad who's up to this season has played a few games for the Bayern team and quite a lot of his football for their youth team. So it's going to take a lot out of him, even though he is 20. He's still growing as a lad and a man. I think we just need to take him out the firing line for a few weeks.
Absolutely, Graham. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's more in the deeper midfield because for me, I don't know what's happened with John Lundstram of late. I don't know what it is with him. He's not the person we've seen in the run up to the Europa League final. Definitely not. So I'd like to see if we can get Jack fully fit and keep playing. I'd like to see somebody that can partner Jack better than Lundstram because I think Craig said earlier on, or it was yourself, Scott, they're kind of trying to get in the same position and do the same job. So I feel if we can get someone that's a wee bit more box to box, it can allow the other one to do the kind of holding more, and then we can just play one of them, and then we can maybe rotate, and it gives us a better kind of squad depth as well. So I kind of more a proper 8. As Craig was saying about Todd Cantwell, I see him more as like a 10 or out wide. So I'd rather see like a proper number 8. That's what I'd like.
Is Cantwell definitely coming in?
I don't think Beale would be talking about him the way he has if he wasn't. But I have seen, I think it was yesterday, I seen there was other clubs interested, so I wouldn't get too carried away with it just yet.
No, absolutely not. What about the goalkeeper, though? Are we expecting that to change, or are we just going to... Do you think it is more of a case of we're going to stick with the 3 goalkeepers that we got?
It needs to change for me, but I can't see it happening in January. That's one for the summer and for the new season.
Yeah. Anyway, unless anyone's got any more comments, I'm going to wrap it up here. How do we feel? We're feeling positive. I don't think we're particularly that positive, and I'm really sorry for all the viewers, but I think that was just a bit of a slog of a game, and we've come away with a victory. So I'm absolutely delighted with that, and delighted to be in the final. But to be honest, I'm a bit tired.
Yeah, I just feel tired from that game. It's not that I'm not positive. 10, 15 minutes ago, I was buzzing, but it's just tiredness and just drained from that match. I'd like to see Beale stick with one of the keepers. If whoever he's going to play with, just stick with them. I was very surprised, like we said before, that McGregor came back in today. I thought McLaughlin would have had a good run of the team now. It wouldn't surprise me if McLaughlin comes back in on Wednesday night now.
Even take into account, I thought McGregor did very well. Aside from the goal, which is just another Rangers calamity, but that's a collective thing. Like throughout that phase of play, there could have been numerous opportunities to actually stop that from happening. So to pin that on McGregor, I'm not too sure, but he made the saves when we needed him to, and that's always been a criticism so far this season of McGregor. Would you not? Okay, Graham, you stick or twist with McGregor?
It's a hard one for me. Both, I think it was JD actually put a thing up on Twitter. It was like the percentage saves per shot, and McLaughlin and McGregor are down quite low. I think they're below halfway, which isn't very good reading. So it's a tough one. And what surprised me as well is
McLaughlin's there as well. McLaughlin's next to
no,
him.
that's what I'm saying. Both of them are there, so it's a hard one. It's like I think you could maybe play. I'd probably trust McGregor slightly more in the kind of the big games. Like there's not really many big games left, really, apart from the Old Firms and a final in the Scottish Cup. Sorry. So I'd maybe give. It's a hard one. It just shows you the position we're in, and especially with Beale's conference. When you talk about Robin McCrory, saying he will get a chance. So I think that says all really that he's going to give him a chance as well because he can't decide about they two. So
That's interesting.
if you to ask me, I'd probably stick with McGregor just because the name really.
You stick or twist, Craig?
Twist. I'd be McLaughlin just because. Yes, he's not as good a shot stopper as McGregor, and he would accept that. But he just gives the defence a lot more reassurance behind them that when the ball comes in the box, they know he's going to at least come for it. And I mean, what we mentioned the other day, the one against Dundee United when the ball flashed across the box and he got a touch on it. If that was McGregor, that ball's going to the back post and their striker's got to tap in because he does not move from his 6-yard line. So what he gives us in saves. When he does make saves, he negates with the ability and teams pick up on that. You're not telling me no team's going to Kilmarnock are going to look at that on Wednesday and go, right, if McGregor plays, we just put the ball in the 6-yard box.
They've got to get near the 6-yard box first. Right. Okay. Finish on that. Rangers 2, Aberdeen 1, into the final of the Viaplay Cup final versus them. It's going to be an absolute cracker. I'm excited for it. There's a lot of football to be played between now and then. There's hopefully a couple of new signings. I've seen so many positives. We'll leave it at that. See you soon all.